This is my Rieju MRT 50, and this is my 1 year review. So I'm going to split this video into 10 sections. Riding, feel and handling, performance and real world use, sound and riding, looks and size, problems and reliability, why the Rieju, cost of ownership, pros and cons, who should buy this bike, mods I've done.
Handling of this bike's insane as well. I love taking some nice corners on it. Like, taking corners on this bike is just really, really fun. Which just sounds a bit stupid because it's a 50cc. I mean, it's really light. The bike is nice and light, so it handles really well. Obviously, it's a supermoto style bike, so you're really mobile on it. Like, look at what I'm doing now. I'm able to do what I want, really. Whereas on a sport bike, you maybe don't have as much mobility. Obviously, also the fact that it's a two-stroke makes it way faster. I love the roundabout. Oh, come on, that had to look cool. Maybe it wasn't super fast, but it felt really cool. But I have to say, I have loved my time with this bike, and I am really sad to see it go. Because it was really, really enjoyable. Jesus Christ, the absolute potholes in here are insane. State of the UK roads at this point, man. The way it handles, overall rides, I have to say, it rides really well. Like, obviously there's bikes that have insanely limited mobility, which this is not one of them. Shut, man. Get your learner, but... Oh, and what do you know? I've just clocked 4,100 miles. Nice.
So I did get a bit lost yapping, but I'm going to talk about it now. The handling of this bike is really, really good. The bike is really nimble, really light. The bars are nice and wide so you can corner really well. The bike is about 85 kilos, which is nothing. It corners insanely well, it's like a feather, you could flick it around all you want. When riding around the city, it's a pretty good commute, I have to say. On open roads though, it does shine because it is pretty quick, I must say. The brakes on it are really good as well. My front brakes are a bit worse than usual, but it's still good. And overall it brakes and stops really well. As well as just overall gripping really well on these nice supermoto tyres. So in terms of performance and real world use, I'm just going to show you a few clips and that have the 0 to 30 and a little top speed. But just so you know, my bike is not stock. I have a Technigas exhaust, a 90 main jet, and a 14 tooth sprocket in the front. So this has made my bike significantly faster, and on flat roads I can average about 40 to 45, and at max I've had the most 55 miles per hour, which is more like maybe 52, 53 because my screen shows it a little bit wrong. So those two 0 to 30 clips ended up at 12.36 seconds and 13.61 seconds, so about an average of 12 to 13 seconds, which I'd say is pretty good considering it was like 25 completely stock. And as you can see now, I'm going down a hill going about 51 miles per hour, which I can go more, but that was just the limit of that hill.
So let's get into it. This is my Rieju MRT 50 Pro SM, and I quite like the sound of it. Obviously, it isn't the best possible sound, but since I've put the exhaust on it, it sounds way, way better. And oh my god, do I love this bike so much more now because of it. It has improved absolutely everything about this bike, everything that I didn't like, basically. I love the sound of it, just look. That sounds unreal. For a 50cc, I think. Sounds better than most 125 4-strokes with loud ass exhaust because I just hate the way they sound. It's just obnoxious. On this has that nice little 2-stroke ring to it, especially when you're coming down from RPM. Look, you might not be able to hear it as much on video, but I love when it comes down from RPM because it just, that little sound that it makes when it's coming down is insane. But in terms of sound, flyby sound, I like how it sounds, to be fair. Like, it maybe doesn't sound as loud as it does in real life, because obviously video never sounds as nice, but I think this bike is pretty insane for what it is, man. It's a little 50cc 2-stroke, and I think the speed you can push is pretty impressive too. You hear that? That was pretty nice.
I love the way it looks. Since it's a 74 plate, it is the end of 2024 and it has the newer styling and the newer plastics. For example, I think that looks really sharp. Plastics there. Obviously, I would say the same for the exhaust. However, right now it's really rusty, but I will clean it up before sale. The whole bike overall is really dirty, but I just love the way that it looks. The plastics look really good. The wheels look really good. The front looks really good. I really like the headlight compared to a lot of other 50s like Beta, Derby. Ugh. However, my favourite angle of this bike has to be from back here. Just look at the way it looks from here. Like, there's no way you could tell me this is a 50cc without knowing this is a 50cc. So in terms of size for this bike, it is a really big looking bike. As I've already said, you couldn't tell me this is a 50cc if you were just like a person who's not into bikes. It is a really, really big bike. Like, I'm about 6'2", 6'3", and I'm about to show you how I fit on this bike. Like, obviously, I fit on it really comfortably. I'm about 6'2" or 6'3", and I'm easily flat-footing this. I could even stand up and be perfectly fine. But I think everything about this bike is really comfortable, and I'd say the size or like height you need to be for this isn't insanely like high, you know? Like, it's not that big. Obviously, I'm tall, so this is basically a perfect bike for me, which made it way easier. The commuting, the position of this bike is really comfortable. If I show you now. Obviously, you've got your arms quite high, straight, a nice position. Legs quite high up as well. They're not too, you know, bent. It's not like a sport bike position where you're like this or bent in or anything. So I'd say it's a very comfortable daily rider, and I would be sad to see it go. However, I'm still really, really excited for a faster bike, because although I have done this exhaust, it is still lacking really badly. Big thing that you do have to talk about, that is a big argument in terms of 2-stroke versus 4-stroke, is reliability. I won't say I've had the best of luck, seeing as my second ride was already a breaking down video. However, I think I'm really lucky that I didn't have a single engine problem, because I know how these can get. The only issues that I've genuinely had were a fuel delivery issue, because for some reason the little tap here is the wrong way around, is labelled wrong, so it's labelled a little bit wrong. And my other issues were, obviously that was my fault because of the crash. I had that little shift knob fall off, just this little, literally just this part, so I couldn't move my foot up and down. I had this part, it's just this part that was missing. So that was my fault, I got stranded on one day. And most recently I've had like a million issues with rain. Because as you can see, I've already tried a little contraption here to fix the rain riding on this bike, but I'm pretty sure you can also see part of my spark plug there. As you know, my spark plug boot is a bit cracked up and teared. So once it rains, water gets in and it just dies on me. I always carry rags in my bag now when I'm going to work, especially when it's raining, obviously. But those are my major issues. I have had it die on me multiple times, and I've had to be recovered 2 times now because I work quite far away and it will not make it that far. However, if you maintain it properly, it shouldn't be too bad. However, I have also had a mate who said his bike wouldn't run in the rain, so maybe this is just a recurring issue. Another thing I have to say is, people say, oh, why would you get a new one, all the Euro 5 and everything. I will say yes, all the restrictions on it at the start with the stock exhaust were horrendous. It was so slow that it should just be illegal to be that slow in the UK. Yet it was still faster than a 50cc 4-stroke stock, so it's just really stupid. However, I think that was the good way to go for me because it was literally a few months old before it got put onto that crash auction website. So the engine had like 1,000 miles and it couldn't have possibly much engine damage if it did have any. I'm super happy about that because if it is close to engine damage now, I'm selling it. No, I'm joking. I think I took pretty good care of this bike. I do wish I took more pictures, videos of on YouTube for this because it is a huge topic with these AM6 engines and they're quite popular. However, I think my 125 content will be even better. Riding with all sorts of people, group rides, rides with my mate and things like that. Another thing that I had an issue with was just me being stupid and not having any 2-stroke oil on me. I was at work and I ran out of 2-stroke oil in the morning. It was showing me the light and I didn't know how much range I'd have left because it takes me like 50 minutes and 12 miles to get home, so I wasn't sure if I would make it home and I didn't want to risk anything. So what do you know, at my lunch break I was running around trying to find 2-stroke oil. I found some at the local car spares, but it was the wrong type. So I had to run all the way back, and after work I rode to the nearest local shop and I got the proper one, which was this one. You may ask me why I bought this bike instead of a 50cc 4-stroke or something faster, maybe a 50cc 2-stroke sport bike like an Aprilia RS50. Well, the real thing is I bought it off a crashed auction site, Cat N. I got it for £1,700, which is about this much in euros and other currencies, and I got a great deal on it. Quite frankly, there was not that much damage. The main damage here was the shift shaft, which we got another one, welded it, put a new shifter on it. And there was maybe a few scratches at the front here, which now covered up. There's one there, for example, one little one there, a little one there, some on the mirrors and like the little hand guards. However, overall the bike is in really good condition. I think I've kept pretty good care of it. However, there has been one accident for me. As you can see here, my grips are chewed up from when I had a little slide. It wasn't anything major, but it was a wet morning and it was the dodgiest roundabout, literally 30 seconds away from my house. The one where I always thought I would crash. I saw somebody a bit close to me, I went in a little too hot, and then boom, slid, did a 180. I was perfectly fine, no rips on my gear or anything. Literally, that was the only damage. And then this, the shifter got bent, which then a week later, that bit snapped off and I got stranded after work. So I had to buy a new one, and that was about it. There was no plastic damage, nothing in the rear, literally just the grips. The grips basically saved me, which obviously I will be replacing before sale as well. This bike needs a really good wash because it is very, very filthy. In terms of cost to run this bike, I'll put this all on screen, but it does run really well and it's not too expensive.
So starting off with fuel costs. Obviously this bike has a 6.32 litre tank, so it's not the biggest, but it can do about 100 miles range, which is this much in kilometers. And I pay about 8 Great British pounds, which is about this much in euros. So I think that's pretty good, considering I ride to work basically every day and I do like 25 miles per day, 12 there, 12 back about. I don't end up spending too much money on fuel, and it is very efficient to run, and it ends up being way cheaper than any sort of public transport I could imagine. Since I do maybe like 140, 150 miles a week, it doesn't end up super expensive for me, and I say it's very efficient for me. Now moving on to 2-stroke oil. People may think this is a big cost, but it is not at all. If you are using the pre-mixed tank that comes with the bike and you haven't removed it because it could fail on you or whatever, if you use the actual tank that comes with the bike, it has 1.1 litres, and I only have to fill it up every like 3 months, if that. Sometimes I top it up just to be safe so I don't run out again, but I bought a bottle and I just kept it at work in my locker basically. The cost for that was about 10 Great British pounds, which is this much in euros, per 3 to 4 months, 2, 3, 4 months. It really depends how you ride, how much you ride and whatever, but it lasts a really long time, I promise you. In this I'm not going to include the price of like tyres, brakes, consumables basically, or gear, because that's just things that you should just have and things that you're going to keep with you in terms of gear at least. But I'm going to include the main big cost, the actual bike itself. So since I bought it from auction, I got a really good deal because it was a 74 plate, so it was a really fresh bike when I bought it, for £1,726, which is this much in euros. And since it was a brand new bike, that's worth way more than that. I think it was a really good deal, even though it has got all the Euro 5 restrictions and I did have to pay a little bit more to de-restrict it, the exhaust and everything. I think it was worth my money and my time.
On to the pros and the cons of this bike. Pros, I would say it is an insanely fun bike. Obviously, since it is a supermoto style bike, it is commonly wheelied by a lot of people, which I haven't had the opportunity to try, mainly because I was scared. And the fact that I had to use this to ride to work every day. Maybe if I didn't have to, I would give it a shot, but that was definitely a fun bike anyway. It corners quite well whenever there's not like massive potholes on the UK. Obviously, this isn't the kind of bike you can take on track, so you're gonna have to deal with what you can do. But I would say it was worth the money and the hours. All the anger that went into this bike basically, I would say is also a pro of this bike is, I would say it's pretty cheap to run. Like, it can do maybe 100 miles on a full tank or more, depending on how you ride obviously. Like, I've had 130 out of it, but then I've also had one issue where I was at like 115 or 110 and it ran out of fuel. So yeah, be careful because it is a 7 litre tank. It's not a big tank at all, and obviously you have to be careful with it. Another pro that I would say is these tyres. These tyres, obviously in the supermoto variant, they are really nice. They are nice, quite thick for a 50cc, as you can see here, and they grip pretty well. Just be careful in rain. I would say another pro of this bike is it is really, really lightweight. It's like 80 or 90 kilograms. So I'm gonna put that on the screen now, how much it actually weighs, compared to like my mate Yamasaki YM50, which is obviously a sport bike, but it is way heavier and way slower. So that definitely helps too. Obviously it also depends on weight of the rider and everything, but the bike itself is really lightweight, handles insanely well, so I would call that another pro. Moving on to the cons of this bike. First of all, I have to start with saying the rain reliability, and it's very sensitive to rain, as I've already said, with the spark plug and everything. So be careful if you are going to ride in rain or during the winter and you're planning on using this bike as a commuter. Since I have had other people say they have the same issue. Obviously this could vary. Maybe that is just because my spark plug boot is very cracked and damaged, but just note that in mind. Another con I would say is power maybe. When stock, these bikes, downhill I've got 38 mile an hour, which is more like 35. And it was a pretty big hill. So that isn't very good at all. But obviously now I've hit 55 mile an hour, which is like 53, 52 maybe. If you want, these have really good tuning potential. However, I am not ready for that. And this was only a temporary thing for me since I'm keeping it for 1 year. I would say that's about it for the cons, because I haven't had that many issues with this bike other than like my stupid mistakes. And also, for some reason, the chain keeps getting loose. I could put that as a con, but I don't know if that's just me. Maybe it's just chain maintenance or whatever, and the fact that I changed the sprocket, but That's it. I don't know.
So in the moment of recording, I kind of blanked out again, but I do have a few little bad things. They're not major, but they're just things that you would like to have on a bike like this. For example, there's no fuel gauge, so I have run out of fuel multiple times. Gearbox, pretty bad. False neutrals everywhere. It has a kickstart, no electric start. It's not horrible, but it's a bit annoying. There's no time on the dash, there's no RPM, there's nothing on like the little screen. There's not much things on there. But that would be about it. In terms of who should buy this bike, I think this is a great beginner bike. It has great potential to learn lots of things with the carb and whatever. You will experience a lot of issues, but I think it's pretty worth it, considering you gain 7 years of 50cc diag in less than a year. As well as the fact that it's really lightweight and nimble, and it's not the sort of thing like a sport bike, where it's really heavy and hard to turn as a first bike. So I would recommend this as a first bike, just if you're not 100% experienced, keeping it stock obviously. It would still be faster than a 50cc 4-stroke.
And finally, I'm going to say all the mods that I've actually done to this bike. So as soon as I passed my CBT, I was riding a Derby Sender there, which I would say is a tiny bit faster than mine stock because it had less, Euro 5 restrictions because it was a bit older. So the first thing I did after that, I put the sprocket on, which is I think 14 teeth on the front, if I'm not mistaken. And then after that, I rode around in the summer quite a bit, and I decided it was too slow, and I was starting work as my apprenticeship, so I thought I'm gonna get this exhaust, and this leveled up the game. This Technogas exhaust made it way faster. It is really, really good. And I also did rejet my main jet in the carburetor, which I don't know if it's correct or whatever, but it's been working fine, and I'll put that on the screen currently because I do not remember what I put. I think it was 90. So that will be all. So I've owned this bike basically a year now, and I've been riding it quite a lot. Over the summer I clocked in over 500 miles. Then when I started work in September, I started riding it daily, and since then I've clocked over 3,500 miles, and in total I've done over 3,000 miles on this bike. And it's safe to say that I love it. I love most parts of it. Don't mind how dirty it is.